Chat, hear me on this day that I will brink the skilled nipples. All right, we're gonna brink the skilled nipples. Let's do this. Let me reset my timer, and we'll get to the brink and the nippling. So we're on options, difficulty, normal, back, options, difficulty, normal. So it's normal difficulty, and then we're gonna do story, sweet tooth, and we're gonna eat the goof. Yes, we'll ask the little nipples. That's exactly what we'll do, chat. 110%. We're gonna be popping the question to the little nipples about the ways of the world and the wilds of the unstretched future of humanity and mankind. It's exactly what's happening here. Completely accurate, as is to be expected from the graces of God. Do the skilled nipples mean the future of man is forthcoming for those that have acquired the truths? 110% on point there, boys and girls. Oh, I like the idea of Sweet Tooth choice. I like the idea of Sweet Tooth transforming into a mecha anime man to be able to conduct himself in a way that gets him farther in this context of skill and steel and metal. Man, this camera's having a stroke, and so's that, whatever that funny noise is. Jesus! What is going on? What was that noise? I like how we get stuck in Sweet Tooth Special and can't switch out of it if we don't have any other weapons. That's phenomenal. Do-do-do-do-do. Phenomenal. Do-do-do-do. We're stuck in the wall. Whoa! Yeah, I literally can't... I have no option when we go into the special transformation, unlike in Black or Lost. So that's great. I didn't need that toilet paper roll... Not toilet paper roll, that fire hydrant. I don't need to know how to read. Grandpa's on the loose. He's got the goose, and he's halfway through the meadows of victory. Land on me. He's got the goose. He's got the juice. He's got the Ultra Moose. Oh, God. Help me, Ultra Moose. Damn it. Whoa, okay, this is overkill. Hello. I am now spaghetti. Chinese knockoff transformer? Maybe. Patchy, what is something silly I should add whilst I'm doing my D&D DM prep? You can have a cameo to me, make a skeleton with a Plague Doctor mask. And he's like, I got a bone to pick with you! And then he throws a bone at Morgana, hitting him in the head, and then he just collapses into a pile of bones, and that could be your introduction to whatever the next thing is. And then at the end of the session, there's a bony hand that just sneaks up on Morgana and pets him. That's from my skeletal bone pile. And you can just watch the cat hyperventilate. These unconsensual transformations are not very cash money, game. Alright, this time I actually picked to go in the robot mode. Every time a special's ready, it auto-switches to it, which is a little weird. Man, these rockets are basically just tickling the enemy, honestly. Yep, I did not decide to do that, alright. Alright, you big goofy gooberino. You're a goofy goober, yeah. We're all goofy goobers, yeah. Please Axel explode so I can go on the show. Alright, we're good. We're on the way to victory. I don't know why, but now I have silly D&D concepts just floating through my head, even though I've never played D&D or many tabletop things. But back when Carl used to do Saturday night game nights, which is a thing I've tried to bring back with my ADHD go burr, when Carl did Saturday night game nights, like the first iteration of it a million years ago now, which was in 2019, which is like 6 years ago now, Jesus. We used to play a game. We played it once, well, I say we used to, as if it was an avid thing. We played it like a couple times. It was called the Red Dragon Inn, I think, and it was like a tabletop card game thing, where the idea was to get people drunk, not literally like in the game, and you had different cards where you bought people drinks, or you had special bonuses, and we weren't playing the game as functionally intended. There was an option for this board game for you to be able to play it single player, because they had like boss characters, and they had two different ways to play a character. In its boss form, if you're playing against it by yourself, and in its player form. And we said fuck it, and we combined the two, and it was combined the two for each one of the bosses, because I think there was multiple, but there was like a skeleton lord boss man who had a really broken power. Basically, when you were about to die, so you had a resource pool of two different things: your alcohol content, and then, which was like your health. So how much alcohol could you take before you pass out and you were dead, or in this case, drunk. And then you had gold coins, which you could use to buy different things and interact in certain contextual ways with the game. Well, the Skeleton Lord had a bit of a broken power where he had his entire hand was a bunch of it was really cool. You had this. We played this through Tabletop Simulator, but the skeleton guy had this hand that was a physical object, like on the game board, and he could rip off his bony fingers and use them as gold coins because they had like gold rings on them. So he basically started the game stacked, and there was a lot of broken things you could do with gold. Not a lot, but there was a number of broken things you could do with gold. So if you started the game basically with like 5 extra gold coins, it was pretty bad. It was pretty broken. And you could also extend your life because I don't remember how or why or the specific rules of it, but you could trade, if you were about to die, you could trade 1 gold coin to prolong your life and get a little bit of a breather room to try to get some like soberness, essentially, right? Or try to just continue to prolong the game. So whoever was the skeleton player, which was me like a couple times, whenever we were about to die, we'd just be like, here, take a bony finger, I'm good. Or if you wanted to spend gold coins on something, but you didn't have like gold coins, you could just use your hand. And so we had this funny little joke where it's like whoever was playing the skeleton lord at the time was like, I'm gonna finger ya! Because, you know, you're giving away your finger to someone, or you're giving away your finger to the contextual event of the game that required gold exchange. So it'd be a case of like, the skeleton lord's gonna finger ya for whatever they need. You get fingered by a skeleton in a tavern for a drink. It was a really wild time. Remember when a loaf of bread destroyed Carl's stream for Carl's soul for like an hour? Yeah, that was the bread debate with Cold. I forget what the initial question was. I lost so many weapons with that just because I was talking and not paying attention. I do that a lot. ADHD brain over. I say some really cursed shit on these streams, don't I? But, fuck, I lost so many weapons. Jesus, I'm up in the sky now. Hello. That bread conversation is like when he asked what qualified. He has that as its own separate video, so if you look it up, you can find it, or I could link it. That went on for a lot longer than Carl let on because he cut it at the point where he got tired of it and he thought it was a good conclusion. But that bread debacle went way past the video and even past the stream, because it did actually go on miscellaneously on and off again for like the next few days until it petered out. Like a couple people talking directly with Cole, a couple people talking in the Discord. It was wild how long that bread thing went on too. And for those unaware, I think the question was, how many pieces of bread do you think you have eaten in a lifetime? And it was like a weird offhanded comment, and then I remember Cold going, well, what qualifies as a piece of bread? And it started a whole fucking discussion on what, like, truly means a piece of bread. Because does a big loaf of bread count as a piece, or does it count as a whole? And then does that qualify to the question? If you take a loaf of bread and you cut it up into slices, is that multiple pieces? Like, what is... It was basically trying to boil down the qualifier for what is the unit of measurement we're going with to even try to answer the question. And it just devolved from there. It was the silliest shit. How many slices of bread are in a loaf? It depends on the kind you're buying, but I don't know, like 10. Because the question, if I do remember correctly, was how many pieces of bread have you eaten in your life? And we were trying to nail down what qualifies a piece, and we didn't even get to answering that question. Like, I think some people tried, like, to estimate, but, you know, the discussion got wrapped around trying to stroke out the definition for what qualifies as a piece of bread. Like, is a whole bread counting as a piece in terms of the context of the conversation? You know, like, that sounds like pretentious. Like, what truly is a piece of bread? But when you're trying to qualify how many pieces of bread you've eaten over your entire existence as a human, like, the idea would be, do you discount whole pieces of bread? And if so, like, you know, what's the qualifier here? Was what the whole discussion was. If you want to calculate how many pieces of bread you've eaten in your entire existence, which I don't even know how the fuck you would begin to do that, it would probably just end up being a rough estimation. Would you only count bread slices or pieces of bread you've taken off a piece of bread, or would you qualify all pieces of bread? And I don't think we ever came to a coherent consensus answer on that. Because it did revolve around trying to answer a separate question. It wasn't just getting, like, you know, pedantic for the sake of pedantic. I mean, maybe it was getting pedantic for the sake of pedantic, who knows? Who knows with some people. In the middle of my special, this slut picks me up. And I'm about to die. That's not good. I didn't realize I died twice already. Unfortunate. I think it would have helped if someone to point out that the original JoJo quote was how many slices of bread that you have eaten in your life. I don't think people was quoting... I don't think that person was quoting JoJo. Maybe they were. I think they were just saying it as a random comment. Cold was the one that really started it into a fucking mess, because the question that sent everything into insanity was not how many pieces of bread have you eaten, it was, well, what qualifies as a piece of bread? That's what started the insanity. That's when we all started, like, that's when the conversation got fucking stupid for like an hour, if not more. Because Cold wanted to try to answer the question. He just was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And it got pretty silly. Oh, no. We can talk about this. Mr. Slam, we can talk about this. Thank God he has no range specials. I gotta move! Woo! I don't want to die and have to restart. No. See you later, skater! Man, that was the recovery of the ages there, huh? Ooh! I gotta heal. Mr. Grimm is big! That's not a... I need health. Are you health? No, you're another homing missile. You're health! And then I could go on to the next section, but I want to heal and kill these goobers. Oh god, there's so much violence behind me. What has this neighborhood come to? I have a lot of weapons. Dear lord. And I missed with all of them. Mr. Grim Grim. I think he's over here. On we go. Final romp. Yeah, but yeah, I go through a loaf of bread in like 2 or 3 days on my own. Yeah, me and Wolf Siege are surprised about how much food we go through in a couple days. I finished all of my Pepsis and I had 24 total in fucking 4 days because of my caffeine addiction. Because I mentioned it before, but I can just down like a 2 liter of Pepsi and feel nothing. And still need more caffeine to keep myself satiated. I went to the local corner store to stock us up on some like auxiliary supplies for like some stuff for him, and I had like 12 cans to split between us on the counter. And he's like, "Oh, is this all for you?" And he had like bulge. I normally when I go there I get like 6 to 8, but I had like 12, and that guy like was like had bulging eyes, and he was like, "Holy shit!" And I had to explain to him what a caffeine addiction is, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And it's like he didn't seem to understand. I'm like, "Yeah, this shit is as addictive as like nicotine and alcohol." And he's like, "Oh, you smoke?" I'm like, "No, I don't need to. I have this." I don't think most people take a caffeine addiction as seriously as like drugs or alcohol, just because it's, you know, it's silly. Like soda is treated like silly kid shit, and so is caffeine in general. Like it's treated like a joke, like a meme. Like, "Oh, don't talk to me till I've had my coffee." Like if you're like that, if you're grumpy because you haven't had caffeine yet, you have a caffeine addiction. It's just not as taken seriously in our culture as alcohol, and you know, like if you, like it, I'm not gonna say it hasn't led to as much of adverse effects as, you know, an alcohol or a cigarette addiction has, but you piece of shit, Thumper, this is my curse. AI just heals when I'm speedrunning. They're just like, "Oh, you're speedrunning, you're trying to go fast, you want me dead in a timely manner? No, heal for me. Me heal now." The pure, unrelenting hell that is Twisted Metal 3 contestants constantly healing is why I will never, ever in a million fucking years speedrun Twisted Metal 3 unless I'm being paid to do so. This is why I don't buy bottles of pop, because I could just mindlessly drink through 2 liters without thinking. With cans, at least I have to reach for a new can, which helps me internally process how much I'm drinking. It doesn't for me, it's just all gone. An addiction's an addiction. It is what it is. People think, like, I hate how addicts are treated in this country, because people think you can, like, just because you're not like a fucking strung out heroin junkie on the street, that means you're not an addict. Like, you can be addicted to something and still not be an asshole. Like, you know, the common meme, the common joke in my country, where it's like teachers or parents are like, "You know, don't talk to me without my coffee." It's like, yeah, you have a caffeine dependency. Just because it's not drugs or alcohol doesn't mean it's not an addiction. You're addicted. But, you know, if you need coffee, if you say the phrase, or you are of the idea that you need coffee or you need caffeine to get you through the day, you have an addiction. If you are a pain in the ass and you will do anything to get caffeine, you have an addiction. I know I have an addiction despite it not being diagnosed, because I will literally pick caffeine over food. I did it when I was homeless, and I do it all the time. If I have enough money to get food or soda, I will get soda, and I can't help it. I legitimately can't help it. Self-control is not a thing when you are addicted to something. And I'm open about it, because, like, what the fuck else am I supposed to do? I got 10 million other problems going on in my life. A caffeine addiction right now is not one of them. It might be rotting out of my teeth, it might be slowly killing me, but, like, I got 10 million more immediate problems. I'm not trying to, I don't want to say, like, having an addiction is fine, but, you know, I wish it wasn't as, like, not taboo, but it wasn't, like, as frowned upon, I guess. I'm not saying it's a good thing, like, you know, "Hey, kids, go out and get a heroin addiction, sponsored by PatchWork." That's not what I'm saying here. That's not at all what I'm saying. But, you know, I feel like it's a good step to acknowledge that it's possible, and that it's a thing that exists, and it doesn't inherently make you, like, a bad person or a crazy person or whatever the fuck. It's just a part of life, homie. All of us have our vices to get by. If you let that addiction ruin your life, that's one thing. But just because an addiction doesn't ruin your life doesn't mean you don't have it. So, it is what it is, I guess. I don't know.